Storm over Warlock by Andre Norton, Chapter 14. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by R.J. Davis. Storm over Warlock by Andre Norton, Chapter 14. Escape. Something ahead. Thorvald did not slacken the pace set by the brilliant spot of green they trailed. Both of the Terrans feared to fall behind, to lose touch with that guide. Their belief that somehow the traveling disk would bring them to the end of the mist and its attendant illusions had grown firmer with every foot of ground they traversed. A dark, fixed point, now partly veiled by mist, lay beyond, and it was towards that looming half-shadow that the spinning disk hurtled. Now the mist curled away to display its bulk, larger, blacker, and 4 or 5 times Thorvald's height. Both men stopped short, for the disk no longer played Pathfinder. It still whirled on its axis in the air, faster and faster, until it appeared to be throwing off sparks. But the sparks faded against a monolith of dark rock, unlike the native stone they had seen elsewhere. For it was neither red nor warmly brown, but a dull, dead black. It could have been a huge stone slab, trimmed, smooth, set up on end as a monument or marker, except that only infinite labor could have accomplished such a task, and there was no valid reason for such toil as far as the Terrans could perceive. This is it. Thorvald moved closer. By the disk's action, they deduced that their guide had drawn them to this featureless black steel with the precision of a beam-controlled ship. However, the purpose still eluded them. They had hoped for some exit from the territory of the veil, but now they faced a solid slab of dark stone, neither a conventional exit or entrance, as they proved by circling its base. Beneath their boots was the eternal sand, around them the fog. Now what? Shann asked. They had made their trip about the slab and were back again where the disk whirled with unceasing vigor in a shower of emerald sparks. Thorvald shook his head, scanning the rock face before them glumly. The eagerness had gone out of his expression, a vast weariness replacing it. There must have been some purpose in coming here, he replied, but his tone had lost the assurance of moments earlier. Well, if we strike away from here, we'll just get right back in again. Shann waved a hand towards the mist, waiting as if with a hunter's watch upon them. And we certainly can't go down. He dug a boot toe into the sand to demonstrate the folly of that. So what about up? He ducked under the spinning disk to lay his hands against the surface of the giant slab, and in so doing he made a discovery. Revealed to his touch, although hidden from sight, for his fingers running aimlessly across the cold, slightly uneven surface of the stone, slipped into a hollow, quite a deep hollow. Excited, half fearing that his sudden guess might be wrong, Shann slid his hand higher in line with that hollow to discover a second. The first had been level with his chest, the second perhaps 18 inches or so above. He jumped to draw his fingers down the rock, with damage to his nails but getting his proof. There was a third niche, deep enough to hold more than just the toe of a boot, and a fourth above that. "We've a ladder of sorts here," he reported. Without waiting for any answer from Thorvald, Shann began to climb. The holes were so well matched in shape and size that he was sure they could not be natural. They had been bored there for use, the use to which he was now putting them, a ladder to the top of the slab, though what he might find there was beyond his power to imagine. The disk did not rise. Shann passed that core of light, climbing above it into the greater gloom. But the holes did not fail him. Each was waiting in a direct line with its companion. and to an active man the scramble was not difficult. He reached the summit, glanced around, and made a quick grab for a secure handhold. Waiting for him was no level platform such he had confidently expected to find. The surface up which he had just made his way, fly fashion, was the outer wall of a well or chimney. He looked down now into a pit where black nothingness began within a yard of the top, for the radiance of the mist did not penetrate far into that descent. Shann fought an attack of giddiness. It would be very easy to lose control, to tumble over and be swallowed up in what might well be a bottomless chasm. And what was the purpose of this well? Was it a trap to entice a prisoner into an unwearied climb, and then let gravity drag him over? The whole setup was meaningless. Perhaps meaningless only to him, Shann concluded, with a flash of level thinking. The situation could be quite different as far as the natives were concerned. This structure did have a reason, or it would never have been erected in the first place. "What's the matter?" Thorvald's voice was rough with impatience. "This thing's a well," Shann edged about a fraction to call back. "The inside is open and, as far as I can tell, goes clear to the planet's core." "Ladder on the inside, too?" Shann squirmed. That was, of course, a very obvious supposition. He kept a tight hold with his left hand, and with the other he did some exploring. Yes, here was a hollow, right enough, twin to those on the outside. But to swing over that narrow edge of safety and begin a descent into the black of the well was far harder than any action he had taken since the morning the Throgs had raided the camp. The green mist could hold no terrors greater than those with which his imagination peopled the depths now, waiting to engulf him. But Shann swung over, fitted his boot into the first hollow, and started down. The only encouragement he gained during that nightmare ordeal was that those holes were regularly spaced, but somehow his confidence did not feed on that fact. There always remained a nagging fear that when he searched for the next it would not be there, and he would cling to his perch, lacking the needful strength in aching arms and legs to reclimb the inside ladder. He was fast losing that sense of well-being which had been his during his travels through the fog. A fatigue tugged at his arms and weighed leaden on his shoulders. Mechanically he prospected for the next hole, and then the next. Above, the oblong of half-light grew smaller and smaller, sometimes half blotted out by the movements of Thorvald's body as the other followed him down that interior way. How far was down? Shann giggled lightheadedly at the humor of that, or what seemed to be humor at the moment. He was certain that they were now below the level of the sand floor outside the slab, and yet no end had come to the well hollow. No break of light down here. He might have been sightless, but just as the blind develop an extra perceptive sense of unseen obstacles, so did Shann now feel that he was aware of a change in the nature of the space about him. His weary arms and legs held him against the solidity of a wall. Yet the impression that there was no longer another wall at his back grew stronger with every niche, which swung him downward, and he was as sure as if he could see it that he was now in a wide open space, another cavern, perhaps, but this one totally dark. Deprived of sight, he relied upon his ears, and there was a sound, faint, distorted perhaps by the acoustics of this place, but keeping up a continuous murmur. Water, not the wash of waves with their persistent beat, but rather the rippling of a running stream. Water must lie below. But just as his weariness had grown with his leaving behind the fog, so now did both hunger and thirst gnaw at Shann, all the sharper for the delay. The Terran wanted to reach that water, could picture it in his mind, putting away the possibility, the probability, that it might be sea-born and salt, and so unfit to drink.